Next guest on the program, he is J.B. McCuskey, Attorney General, former auditor of the state. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I was getting really tired of all this great weather as well. It's just so much worse when your kids can go outside and play and you don't have to worry about them being in the house. It's just such a drag when the weather's perfect.
It is, and fortunately, that's not a problem any longer. It'll get better.
No, it's great. It's freezing cold. It's perfect. I love it because now I have pollen and I'm cold.
You know,
that really is quite a duo.
You're not exactly Job over there suffering in silence, are you, JB?
Yeah, if you can't complain on the radio, where can you complain, right?
Okay, on the internet, yeah.
This is like Frasier show. Yeah,
I like that show. You are leading. You're co-leading a coalition of 23 states in support of the Trump administration's effort to reignite our nation's energy grid with coal. Tell me about your partnership with the North Dakota Attorney General on this, sir, and the Wyoming Attorney General.
Yeah, so this is a case that we were really thankful that North Dakota and Wyoming decided to come and co-lead with us. Like we've talked about before, our office is the lead on energy issues for the Republican attorney generals in this country. And what's really interesting about where we are politically right now is that there's 29 Republican attorney generals out of the 50 states. And we have more Americans that live in Republican-controlled attorney general states than in Democrats. And when we have a Congress that is so tight and, really for the last 30, 40 years has been generally ineffective at solving large-scale problems just because of the infighting. And, I think there's a real bent towards re-election, which causes a lot of people in Congress, I think, to really temper their actions and not take big, bold steps to solve problems. The attorney generals have really stepped in as a group that are about the most well set up to do things like remake our energy grid in a rational way. And so our office is filing brief after brief in support of our coal and natural gas industry, trying to sort of restructure our federal code in a way that is rational. And what we've seen is over the last 25 years, particularly when we have Democrats in office, the power of the bureaucratic state, being the EPA, et cetera, has overtaken the rational thought process of elected officials. And what we're left with is a grid that is unreliable, that doesn't provide the amount of power that we're going to need in the future, and causes regular consumers' energy prices to skyrocket. And every person in West Virginia can go and look at their electricity bill and understand what I'm talking about. And the rational policy here is we need to use the inexpensive, reliable energy that we know how to get, we know how to use, and we know how to get into the pipeline of PJM quickly and efficiently, and that means coal and natural gas. And when we really start to get back to that, we're going to start seeing much lower energy costs for not just West Virginians but all Americans. But we're also going to see a boom in American ingenuity and entrepreneurship because low-cost, inexpensive electricity is the beginning, middle, and end of economic renaissances. And so we're really proud to lead on that, not just for West Virginia's economy, but for the economy of our entire country and our national security, to be fair.
JB, can you talk to the effects of the improvements in burning coal in terms of clean coal, reducing the pollution that we think about when we think of 100 years ago and such? And we all know the after effects and how that's left parts of West Virginia as well. So can you talk about those changes too?
Sure. I mean, I think at the end of the day, what we have in this country is a system of power generation that uses carbon fuels that is as clean as any other power generation source. And what's really frustrating about sort of, and I say the word irrational because that's the best way for me to describe it, the irrationality of trying to too quickly switch to solar and to wind is that everyone negates the environmental impacts of those two energy sources, right? There is no way to create electricity in a completely neutral way. You know, when you build a battery for a solar panel, you have to do the exact same kind of mining for the exact same kind of minerals to build these batteries with as you do with coal. And then what do you do with them when you're done? And when you're talking about windmills, you're talking about enormous amounts of oil. You're talking about enormous amounts of what would be considered by the sort of green left as non-environmentally friendly actions in order to create the windmills. And so we are very, very bullish that the Trump administration is now working not just with Congress but with the attorney generals across this country to reset this idea that we produce electricity with carbon fuels in a clean, environmentally friendly way. And the most important thing to know here is that places like China are building coal-fired power plants without any environmental controls every day and using the coal that we mine in West Virginia to burn in them. And so we share an ozone with the rest of the world. And if what you believe is that the burning of coal for electricity is causing these environmental impacts, and I think the science is still out on that. What you don't want is people in China burning it. What you do want is people in the United States burning it, where we have made a commitment to doing that in a much cleaner way.
I would agree with that completely.
It is, again, completely irrational for us to be sending American coal to build the economy of China and be burned in a way that is offensive to those who don't want coal burned at all. It makes the most sense for us to burn the coal and natural gas in this country to promote our economy, our national security, and do it in a way that is so much cleaner and enables us to maintain our place atop the world's pecking order for a myriad of reasons. That is just the most important thing we can be doing. And like I said before, being a West Virginian and knowing the men and women of the coal and oil and gas industry, it's an easy fight for me to take on because they're just the best people on earth. And they have done so much to build this country. And I think fighting for people that take serious pride in their work and understand what their work does to help everyone around them, that's an easy task for me.
Let's talk about Tren de Aragua, the gang that's gotten more publicity than any gang since those Spanky and Our Gang cartoons I used to watch when I was growing up as a kid here. There was a Supreme Court ruling that affected this in some manner yesterday, too. It was a 5-4 vote with a lot of explanation as well. JB, I'm sure you're aware of that this morning, and going forward, how will this affect the treatment of gangs and deportation of those alleged gang members?
Yeah. So what's happened now is that the Supreme Court has said the Trump administration's actions are able to stand for now as they wait for additional briefing. My gut tells me that what they're signaling is that they believe that the president has the authority to designate these gang members from foreign countries as foreign invading force. And whether you like it or not, this is a power that the president has been given for since essentially the beginning of time, and it has been used properly and misused in the past. In this instance, this is the reason why this particular part of our federal Constitution exists, and that is to give the president the plenary power to ensure the safety of the homeland. And we've led on briefs supporting the president's power to do this. We are very, very hopeful that the end of this will be number one, an understanding that this is a good policy for the United States to remove these folks who are doing no good in this country, and two, to sort of reshape the way that district courts are able to make these decisions. I think the most important part of all of this is that there's a sort of well-known legal construct that says that district courts can only rule in cases where there is an issue or controversy. And the district court rulings trying to stop the president's actions with Tren de Agua did not involve issues and controversies, in my opinion, and they were overstepping their authority and trying to undo proper presidential actions for the entire country based on one district court's ruling. And so I think both of those two things combined will, number one, help to make our country safer and to give us some more freedom to remove foreign invading forces who are bringing fentanyl and death and destruction in communities all over the country. But two, to ensure that we have the proper federalism ideas going on, meaning actions like this come from the president, and until there's an actual controversy or case, district courts cannot enjoin what the president's doing and stop them from being the president for the entire United States, not just not just the district court in Manhattan.
Well, the Chief Justice, John Roberts, I think disagrees with you at least a little bit in the sense that he said that you've got to provide due process and there has to be proof that these are gang members before you deport them to prison in another country. And there is some controversy that did not happen in this case, JB, or else he wouldn't have written that line.
Yeah,
there.
and I think that's what we're going to figure out is what was the process by which the president should have done this, and the Supreme Court is the place for that to happen. I think what's important is he didn't say he couldn't do it. I think what probably will be the end of this is there will be some slight changes in how it happens, but not the fact that it's happening in its totality. And I'm very confident that the Supreme Court will get this right. And I'm confident that the president and this administration will follow the Supreme Court's lead and continue to remove dangerous elements from our society and do it in the way that the Supreme Court believes it's supposed to be done properly.
Matt Miller.
So as we consider really both of these cases and things that you were talking about, from more of a local one in getting back to coal, and now this one in making sure that we keep our country safe, do you like so far the direction from a legal standpoint that you're seeing this current administration? There have been a lot of things that have happened in a very quick amount of time. Are we moving in the right direction?
Yes. And in terms of energy issues, there has probably never been a more positive 3-month span in a White House than there has been in this first 3 months of the Trump administration as it relates to coal and gas. And I'm actually flying up to D.C. with Governor Morrisey today to join President Trump on an executive order about our coal industry. And there'll be a lot of coal miners from West Virginia up there with us. And the president has made a real commitment to what we consider, or not what we consider, what people in New York and Boston and L.A. consider flyover country, and saying to the folks here, we need you, we need coal, we need natural gas, and we need the men and women that mine and frack it to be successful, because our national security and our economy is dependent upon them being successful. And it's just so heartening to see an administration that doesn't look coal miners square in the eye and say, what you do doesn't matter, why don't you go learn how to code, and say, we believe that you're the most talented people in the entire world, what you do has value, who you are matters, and that the families that depend on these industries are important to us as well. And I think it's really, as much as it's a policy issue, it's an attitude issue. And President Trump and this administration looks coal miners and gas workers and West Virginians right in the eye and says, we want you to be successful because we believe in what you're doing and we believe in you. And I think that that makes it super easy for me to continue to fight these fights. And I'm just really bullish on where our energy industry is going to go, especially in light of what this administration is doing.
I personally think our coal should stay here, and we should be using it in America, and we should, shore up our power grid and everything. Let me ask this.
That's why you're in the Hall of Fame.
No, that's
Matt. Well, no. Matt's in the Hall of Fame. I'm just very tall.
Sorry. I'm on
sorry.
the phone here. I could.
No, JB, I'm sorry about that. Jonathan Bodwell, I should have said that.
It's just three guys with radio faces talking to each other, and
Yes.
I had to figure out which one it was, right?
Without a doubt.
But the long and the short of it is, when we burn the coal here, we win three ways. And like I've always said, it is a lot cheaper to build a power line than a pipeline. And we need to go back on offense. We need to stop defending what we're doing, because what we're doing is good. And we need to say it's time for us to permit new coal-fired power plants and new gas plants and enable West Virginia and West Virginia's coal and gas to be the battery that powers America. And I think the people here want that, and I think the rest of the country will be incredibly grateful for if we're allowed to do that.
Well, I go back to a couple of years ago when the governor of California said by 2030 all cars are going to be electric. And then 2 weeks later, during a big, they had a big heat wave, he said, nobody charge your cars during the day because the power grid can't handle it.
And now they're saying, go throw a Molotov cocktail at an electric car because it's built by somebody that we no longer like, right?
They're not saying that, JB. JB, they're not saying that. You know they're not saying that.
Somebody's saying it.
No, the governor of California is not telling people to go firebomb Elon Musk's cars.
California, I said they.
Careful.
And by
We have an
they, I meant
FCC
the
license. We got to be careful here.
Well, true, but my point here is that we've now jumped the shark. We went from saying you can't drive a gas car because Elon Musk created the best electric car ever made and everybody wanted one, to Elon Musk supporting President Trump and everyone saying Tesla's the worst company ever made. And so people need to decide whether or not they're more interested in politics or they're more interested in principles. Because if what you believe is that everyone should be driving an electric car, hating Tesla and Elon Musk is irrational.
No, because you can go buy other electric cars. Maybe you don't like him personally, but you can buy other cars.
There wouldn't be electric cars on the road if Tesla hadn't made them cool, right? Nobody was going to be mass buying a Nissan Leaf. And while they're probably a very good car, people want cool cars. They want cars that go fast, and they want cars that are comfortable and quiet and can go far enough to matter. Elon Musk is, and you cannot make the argument any other way, the only reason why electric cars were normalized in this country.
I have to check and see, is Nissan one of our sponsors that you just offended, JP?
I didn't offend them. I love Nissan.
You're killing me today.
Cars. My point is that, the Tesla.
No, we got you. We understand your point.
Cars cool.
We understand your
point. You're
point.
kind of surprising
Elon Musk can
me
defend himself.
I have really never thought of electric cars as cool. I have thought of having to stop and find a place to stop and plan ahead as stupid.
So did the Republican Party until Elon Musk started helping Trump.
I just don't.
You know what? You're not 100% wrong there.
No,
right?
I'm not.
I can't.
The hypocrisy is not only confined on the left.
I know.
Right? And now, this is what it gets down to me from a federal standpoint, is if they had wanted everyone to drive an electric car, it would have been really easy for them to say, you know what, we're going to allow West Virginia to be the place that charges every single car in this country. We are going to move to electric, but we're going to let you burn every ounce of coal that you can find and every MCF of gas that you can find to charge all these cars. But they didn't do that. They said you have to drive electric cars and you're not allowed to mine coal.
I know.
There could have been an enormous partnership between the energy industry in this country and the electric cars that were being produced, but they didn't do that. They said you need to learn how to go code, right, and drive an electric car. But we're not really sure where we're going to get the electricity to charge them.
But look what happened.
That's where the irrationality comes.
JB, look what happened. The Democrats paid for it in the election. They don't own the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the White House. And the approval rating for Democrats is at 25% for the Democratic Party right now. They have paid for all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now
They did not get away with it.
But at
hey,
what?
hold on a second, because it's 8:54. JB was supposed to get out at 8:50. Are you going to go or what?
Fun. I can do 4 more minutes.
All right,
I got a big question about China. Okay, a lot of our coal goes to China. What happens with all the tariff stuff going on? How will that affect West Virginia coal? How do you think it will?
Well, I'll tell you that the tariff that I'm the most worried about right now, and I will answer your question, is that the state of Maryland is trying to tax coal as it traverses through their rails into the Port of Baltimore.
Horrible idea.
We are working. We have sent a letter to the legislature and the leaders in Maryland explaining the unconstitutionality, easy for me to say, of that action. And if they are to go forward with that, they will meet with us. And so Maryland is trying to fill their budget hole that's based on irrational and giant spending in their state.
Agreed.
On the backs of West Virginia coal miners, and we're not going to stop that. The tariffs on coal going to China, I mean, certainly would only have the effect, in my opinion, of creating a much larger stockpile of coal in America if we can build the power plants we need to burn it. And it is so much better if that coal is being purchased by AEP and First Energy than by the government of China. And so I think one super positive effect of those tariffs on coal is that it will give us significantly more coal to make steel and electricity with here in this country.
My whole thought in all of this is there has to be some kind of a coming together between political parties to the energy future of our country so that the people in the industry can make decisions and do things. Because, JB, as you just mentioned, to make a new power plant doesn't happen overnight. And so for a power company to say, we're going to invest the amount of money and the amount of time, and it may not be online for 5 or 10 more years, well, in that time, power has shifted from one party to another, and now that party's going, we don't like this. We've got to come to some kind of an agreement so we can go in the same direction.
I agree. And if the agreement is we want large-scale, reliable, effective, and cost-effective energy,
and who
is
doesn't?
No other answer. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
I think everybody says they want that, but there are those who overestimate the ability of non-coal and gas options, and they're just wrong. We can't do it that way yet,
agree.
Especially with all these data centers going on, and there is only one option. And thankfully, that option is really good for the economy on both ends. And so the rational energy policy is for us to say, we're going to use what we have, what we know how to do, until we can figure out another way.
Hey, JB.
We have not figured out that other way yet.
In regards to power and data centers, okay, there's an uproar in Jefferson County here because of a data center that's being proposed. They're going to take people's land from eminent domain, and all the power is going to go to Virginia, Loudoun County, where they've got a bunch of data centers that need lots of power. I misspoke earlier. It's not a data center. It's a high-speed power lines that are coming through. In regards to eminent domain in West Virginia, any thoughts? People don't want to give up their land right now.
So I'll tell you, Jefferson County has zoning, and Berkeley County does not.
Yes.
And you bring up a really, really good point, and that is we also have to be very, very respectful, especially in places where agriculture plays an enormous part, in ensuring that West Virginia maintains its identity as a place where people come to play, as a place where this is a uniquely beautiful landscape and a uniquely beautiful place to do things outside. And you know, I have all the faith in the world in the people there in Jefferson County and the county commission and the zoning to ensure that anything they're doing to make the economy in Jefferson County better is going to be done in a way that is rational and that is thoughtful to the landowners in that county. And if they're not, there's a million different ways that there's people that can have redress. And so, you know, that is an age-old question, right? We really want this interstate, but we don't want it through our farm. And it's a difficult problem to solve, and it's a problem that you know, you have to figure out the total cost benefit analysis, and I have all the confidence in the world that the folks in the government out there will get that right.
I don't think the Jefferson County folks do, though. Some of them are going to lose their land.
And they're always 2 years away from an election.
Hey,
and that's the beautiful part of our system.
I know we're running out of time, but I want to end it on a light note. Did you ever hear from the NCAA? Did they ever answer any of your questions?
They absolutely did. I got a phone call from the higher-up brass at the NCAA about 10 days ago, and here in the next week or so, I'm going to be traveling over to Indianapolis to be meeting with the president of the NCAA and some of their folks, and they have assured me that they are going to answer all of our questions, and we're very hopeful that we're going to help them create a process that's a little bit more fair and more transparent and more accountable.
JB, your plan to get out at 8:50 today was a horrible failure.
Well, the extra 10 minutes was totally worth it because I was with some good friends. So.
Have a good day, sir.
Hey, you guys too. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.